The night I infiltrated the residence of the director of the East Bureau to save a life, I stumbled upon a secret that could get me killed. This man, who held the entire imperial court in the palm of his hand, the feared eunuch who served the emperor, was actually a complete, intact man. Later, he pinned me against the edge of the steaming hot spring pool, his wet fingertips tracing the line of my throat, lingering over my Adam's apple with a dangerous, low chuckle. "Since the little lord has discovered my secret," he whispered, his voice vibrating against my skin, "why don't you use yourself as collateral to keep it?" Eventually, the entire capital knew the scandalous rumor. Eugene, the young heir to the Duke of Miller, had become the plaything of Director Peter. Everyone pitied me, but no one knew the truth. No one knew that every night, inside his heavily guarded bedchamber, this ruthless, blood-soaked director of the East Bureau would kneel on one knee, his eyes full of devotion, just to put on my shoes. It all began on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. The royal banquet hall was ablaze with golden light, a dazzling display of imperial wealth. Dancers in sheer silk whirled on the high platform, their sleeves flowing like clouds. The court officials raised their jade cups, exchanging toasts and laughter. It was supposed to be a scene of peace and prosperity. Then, a sharp clatter cut through the music. Director Peter, the head of the East Bureau, had thrown his ivory chopsticks onto the table. The sound was crisp, but the effect was like a thunderclap. The entire hall fell into a terrified silence. Peter sat there, his handsome face cold and severe. A terrifying, dark glint flashed in his eyes. The dancers froze instantly, their faces pale, looking at each other in panic. The new emperor, who was barely 5 years old, had always been terrified of Peter. Upon hearing the noise, the child burst into loud, wailing tears. But the Queen Mother didn't dare comfort her own son. Instead, she leaned forward, her voice trembling with caution. "Director Peter," she asked softly, "is there something unsatisfactory? What has displeased you so?" Peter didn't answer immediately. He merely swept a lazy, indifferent glance over the trembling dancers. His eyelids lowered, masking the depth of his thoughts, making him impossible to read. After a long, agonizing silence, he finally spoke, his tone languid and bored. "Looking at these women on stage," Peter drawled, "they are nothing but common rouge and vulgar powder. Utterly flavorless. They are an eyesore." With just that one sentence, everyone understood. Cold sweat broke out on the foreheads of the ministers. They were terrified that disaster would befall them next. If you were to ask who held the most power in the entire dynasty, it wasn't the little emperor, nor was it the princes or generals. It was him, Peter. Though he was officially a eunuch, his mind was deep and unfathomable. He had controlled the government for years, acting with a swift brutality that silenced all opposition. In the past, he had tricked the late emperor into an obsession with immortality, gaining absolute trust as the keeper of the seal. After the late emperor passed, the court became his playground. The Queen Mother only managed to place her son on the throne because of Peter's help. He wasn't old, yet his word was law. He was violent and arbitrary. There wasn't a soul in the kingdom who didn't fear him. At this moment, Peter's words carried a hidden meaning. It was clear he was feeling lustful. The realization made everyone panic. It was strange, though. Peter had power over millions. If he wanted beauties, he could have had thousands. Yet, it was unheard of for him to have such desires. In the past, many officials had tried to curry favor by sending him gorgeous women, but he always sent them back untouched. Everyone assumed that as a eunuch, he cared only for power and had no desire for beauty. But tonight, his attitude had changed. Did he want a noblewoman? But who would be willing to send their precious daughter to a eunuch? Several young ladies from noble families were already weeping behind their fans. Unexpectedly, Peter didn't even look at them. Instead, the corner of his lips curled up, and those cold eyes suddenly shifted, looking directly toward my direction. As the heir to the Duke of Miller, I was naturally seated next to my parents. I had no sisters, so I sat alone beside my father. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but the smile on his lips seemed to freeze for a second when his eyes met mine. His expression then shifted to one of lazy regret. I felt incredibly uncomfortable under his gaze. What is this castrated dog looking at? I thought angrily. I am a man. Fortunately, he looked away quickly. But his gaze, sharp as a hawk's, locked onto the maid standing behind my mother, Autumn. Peter spoke slowly, his voice deep and chilling. The maid behind the Duchess of Miller. She is truly outstanding in beauty. A delight to the eye. I wonder if the Duchess would be willing to part with her love. As soon as these words came out, everyone else in the hall breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone except my father. Rage was building on his face. His fists were clenched tight, his knuckles white. He looked ready to stand up and argue with Peter right there, to denounce his despicable behavior. However, faced with Peter's overwhelming power, my father had to swallow his anger, burying his indignation deep in his heart. Autumn stood by the side, trembling with fear, tears streaming down her face. My mother held her hand, weeping helplessly. Autumn had been sold into our estate as a child. My mother had seen her potential, smart, obedient, and kind, and had kept her close for 10 years. To my parents, Autumn wasn't just a servant. She was like a daughter. And now, Peter wanted to take her. Seeing my parents forced to swallow this insult, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up abruptly. As the young lord of the Miller estate, I was known for being a bit of a rich playboy, afraid of nothing in heaven or on earth. Even if it was Peter, I didn't care. I stared daggers at Peter. Autumn is like a sister to me. My parents have already arranged a marriage for her. I asked the director to choose another beauty. Peter chuckled softly. Is that so? In that case, who does Lord Eugene think I should choose instead? Before I could answer, he raised an eyebrow at me, a rogue-like smile playing on his lips. Looking around the entire capital, true beauties are rare. But you, Lord Eugene, your heavenly appearance lives up to your reputation. Even many women would sigh in inferiority compared to you. Why don't we do this? You trade yourself for the maid. What do you think? His words caused the corrupt officials in his faction to burst into laughter. My face turned iron green with rage. This castrated dog, I thought, he is absolutely insane. Shameless. Just then, the Queen Mother spoke up with a smile. She is just a maid, after all. Director Peter, do not hurt the harmony with Lord Eugene over a servant. Besides, for Autumn to enter the director's estate is a huge blessing. I am sure the director will treat her well. I will make the decision. Autumn will be sent to Director Peter's estate tonight. It is settled. Back at the Miller estate, the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Seeing my parents' sorrowful faces, I couldn't stop the tears of frustration. An idea formed in my mind. As a man, I should stand tall and fear no evil. If I couldn't even protect my sister, what kind of man was I? Yes, I told myself. I will sneak into Peter's estate and steal Autumn back. My personal servant, Bamboo, immediately tried to stop me, hugging my leg and refusing to let go. My lord, please don't be impulsive. The director's estate is heavily guarded. And I've heard that Thief Peter possesses peerless martial arts skills. You can't beat him alone. I scoffed at his words. Bamboo, are you underestimating your master? That Peter is skinny and effeminate. I could take him down with one hand. Besides, I practice martial arts every day. No one in this estate can beat me. Bamboo looked hesitant, stammering. Actually, the guards go easy on you. But I wasn't listening. I shook him off, changed into black night clothes, tied a black mask over my face, and stepped into the night. After jumping over the wall into Peter's estate, I carefully scouted the area, hoping to find Autumn. But after searching several courtyards, I found no trace of her. Bamboo's worry turned out to be unnecessary. This massive estate wasn't heavily guarded at all. I wandered around and saw only a few guards on rotation. However, the estate was too big. I was getting dizzy. The architecture was exquisite, carved railings, jade steps, pavilions over water. It was even more luxurious than the palace, surely built with money squeezed from the people. Just as I was losing my sense of direction, I heard the sound of flowing water. I followed it and found a hot spring pool, steam rising in thick clouds. Someone was bathing in the pool. It was Peter. I was about to turn and leave when he suddenly stood up. The water cascaded off him, revealing a physique that was nearly perfect. I was shocked. For a eunuch, he was incredibly built, broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and tight muscles. And then I saw it. I froze, my eyes widening in disbelief. Wait, I thought, my brain short-circuiting. Isn't he a eunuch? How can he? He was a complete man. The realization hit me like a physical blow. If he discovered that I knew this secret, a secret that was undoubtedly treason, I would die without a grave. I turned to flee in a panic. But as soon as I turned, I slammed into a solid chest. Under the moonlight, a naked man stood before me. His handsome face carried a faint smile, but his eyes were as cold as winter stars. His long, wet hair was draped over his shoulders, water droplets falling onto his collarbone. That face, beautiful enough to topple kingdoms, looked even more demonic in the quiet night. He asked lazily, "Little Lord Eugene, where are you trying to go?" Terror seized me. I tried to run, but he grabbed me with one hand, imprisoning me. I instinctively threw a punch, but before I could even touch him, a strange force lifted me up. Splash! I fell into the hot spring pool, swallowing a mouthful of water. "Peter, what are you doing? Let me go?" Otherwise, before I could finish, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me close. I screamed, "You are insane." "Shameless." He smiled, a wicked, unrestrained grin, and covered my mouth with his hand. "Little Lord, you delivered yourself to my doorstep. What do you think I want to do?" I tried to struggle, but I felt a sharp chop to the back of my neck. My vision went black. When I woke up, I found myself back in my own bed at the Miller estate. Wasn't I at Peter's house? I thought, confused. How did I get back? The memories of the previous night rushed back, bringing a wave of fear. I threw off the covers and checked my body. Fortunately, that dog Peter hadn't done anything else to me. But I, the dignified heir of Duke Miller, had suffered such humiliation. I swore I would make him pay. "My lord, you're awake." Bamboo entered from the door, quickly pouring a cup of tea. I drank it in one gulp. "Bamboo, how did I get back?" Bamboo sighed. "My lord, please don't be so impulsive in the future." The Duke and Duchess were worried sick. "Early this morning, Peter's people sent you back. They said if you wanted to visit, you could just come through the front door during the day. Why climb the wall at night? They said you fell and knocked yourself out. Luckily, the night guards found you, or you would have frozen in the wind all night." I gripped the blanket, my knuckles turning white. Peter had spun such a lie. He was the one who knocked me out, and now he was pretending to be the good guy. "What about Autumn?" I asked, remembering the most important thing. Bamboo's expression darkened, but then lit up slightly. "This morning, Peter's people sent her back along with her deed of sale. They said the director changed his mind and didn't want her anymore." I sat up straight. "Really? It's true. Autumn is crying in the Duchess's room right now." She said. Bamboo lowered his voice. "She said Director Peter didn't touch a hair on her head. He just asked her some questions about you, locked her in a guest room, and sent her back this morning. Why was that dog asking about me?" Just then, the door burst open. My father walked in with a dark face, followed by my mother, whose eyes were red from crying. "You unfilial son," Dad shouted. "Do you know what a crime it is to trespass into the director's estate? If Director Peter wasn't being generous, our whole family would have been killed because of you." I stiffened my neck. "Dad, were you just going to watch Autumn be ruined by that man?" "Shut up." Dad's face changed color. He rushed forward and covered my mouth. "Do you want to die? How dare you say such things?" Mom pulled Dad's arm, sobbing. "Duke, Eugene meant well." Dad sighed deeply, releasing me. "Do you know who Peter is? When the late emperor was alive, a minister once said the Eunuch faction is ruining the country at a banquet. The next day, his entire family was found hanging at the city gate. A chill ran down my spine, but I stayed stubborn. So what? Can he just kill me?" Dad looked at me with complex eyes. "You. Don't go out for a few days. Peter sent a card. He said he's coming to visit in 3 days. "What?" I jumped out of bed. "What is he coming here for?" Dad shook his head. "The card says he is coming to apologize to the young lord for the poor hospitality last night." I felt my hair stand on end. What was he planning? 3 days later, Peter arrived as promised. I was forced to dress formally and stand with my father in the front hall to welcome him. From a distance, I saw a black sedan chair stop at the gate. 8 Imperial guards stood solemnly on both sides. The curtain lifted, and Peter walked out slowly, wearing a moon-white brocade robe. A dragon jade pendant, gifted by the late emperor, hung at his waist. Under the sunlight, his handsome face was breathtaking. There was no trace of the feminine softness usually associated with eunuchs. Duke Miller, I trust you have been well." His voice was clear and bright. He nodded slightly to my father, but his eyes were fixed on me. I held back my nausea and bowed hastily. Father ushered him into the main hall and ordered tea. After 3 rounds of tea, Peter suddenly spoke. "I feel a connection with Lord Eugene. I wonder if I could borrow him for a private chat." My father didn't dare refuse. Soon, only the 2 of us were left in the hall. Peter put down his teacup and suddenly reached out, his hand touching my throat. I jerked back, but he grabbed my wrist. Did the young lord see clearly that night? He laughed low, his fingertips gently rubbing my pulse. I glared at him. "Director, please have some self-respect." Self-respect. He suddenly leaned in, his warm breath hitting my ear. "When you were peeping at me bathing that night, why didn't you have self-respect?" My face turned red, a mix of shame and anger. You aren't a eunuch at all. This is the crime of deceiving the emperor." Peter's eyes darkened, and his grip on my hand tightened painfully. "So? Is the Lord going to report me?" I gasped in pain, but refused to show weakness. "Let me go." Instead of letting go, he pulled me closer. "Eugene, do you think I let that maid go for no reason?" His other hand caressed my face. "Because I found you much more interesting than her." My body went rigid. I suddenly understood what he was after. This pervert. Dream on. I abruptly raised my knee, aiming for his crotch. Peter dodged easily and used the momentum to press me down onto the tea table. Teacups crashed to the floor, porcelain shattering everywhere. "Quite a fiery temper," he said, pinning both my wrists with one hand. His other hand began to untie his sash. "Why don't we make a bet? If you can escape from my hands, I'll pretend nothing happened. If you can't, bastard, let go." I struggled desperately but couldn't move him an inch. From outside the door, my father's anxious voice called out, "Director? Has something happened?" Peter raised his voice, shouting toward the door. "It is nothing." The young lord accidentally knocked over a teacup. Then he lowered his head and whispered in my ear, "Tell me, if your father came in right now and saw his son pinned under a eunuch, what would he think?" I bit my lower lip, closing my eyes, afraid to move. He laughed with satisfaction, his fingers exploring my collar. Just as my heart was racing and I didn't know how to handle it, he laughed again and let me go. I opened my eyes quickly. He was standing there, arms crossed, looking down at me with amusement. What? Was the young lord actually expecting something? My face burned. I swung a fist at him in anger. "You bastard! What nonsense are you spouting?" He caught my fist easily, holding my hand like he was admiring a rare treasure. His smile deepened, and his tone softened unexpectedly. "All right, I won't tease you anymore. I came to find you today because I want to show you a good show." I looked at him suspiciously. "What are you planning now?" He spoke slowly. "I heard you are engaged to the daughter of the Minister of Rights. The wedding is in 2 months. I frowned. "So what? That has nothing to do with you." "It has nothing to do with me," he said. "But your fiancée." He stopped, leaving the sentence hanging. Hearing him mention Lydia, my heart clenched. "Peter, I'm warning you. Don't you dare have any designs on her. If you touch her, I will fight you to the death, even if it costs me my life." But Peter's eyes showed only disdain and disgust. A promiscuous woman. I only find her nauseating. I didn't understand. "Peter, who are you talking about? Speak clearly." But he ignored me and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he looked back at me deeply. "Tomorrow at 3 p.m., I will send someone to pick you up for the show." The next day at 3 p.m., Peter's carriage stopped at the side door of the Miller estate right on time. I stood by the window, looking at the low-key yet luxurious black carriage, my fingers gripping the window frame. Bamboo looked worried. "My lord, are you really going? That director clearly has bad intentions." "Go." Why wouldn't I go? I adjusted my collar, forcing myself to look calm. I want to see what tricks this dog is playing. Despite my words, my palms were sweating as I walked out. Lydia and I had only met a few times, but she was my future wife. Her reputation was at stake, so I had to go. Inside the carriage, the scent of agarwood lingered. I sat stiffly, my heart beating faster as the wheels turned. "My lord, we have arrived," a high-pitched voice called from outside. I took a deep breath and lifted the curtain. The scene before me stunned me. This wasn't Peter's estate. It was a secluded villa in the west of the city. "The director is waiting for you inside," the young eunuch whispered. I walked through the garden. The path wound through quiet trees. The young eunuch stopped in front of a room and knocked gently. "Director, Lord Eugene is here." "Come in." Peter's voice came through the door, sounding slightly huskier than usual. I pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit. Peter, wearing a dark blue robe, was leaning on a soft couch by the window, playing with a white jade wine cup. Seeing me, he lifted his chin. "Sit." I stood guardedly. "Didn't you say you had a show for me to see?" He chuckled and suddenly stood up, walking toward me. I instinctively stepped back until my back hit the door. He placed one hand beside my head, leaning in close. So afraid of me. The smell of agarwood mixed with faint alcohol washed over me. I turned my face away. Who is afraid? Good. He suddenly stepped back and pulled a set of clothes from his sleeve like a magic trick. "Put this on." It was a woman's dress. "What do you mean by this?" My face flushed. Peter took a slow sip of wine. "Lydia, the daughter of the Minister of Rights, is currently meeting her lover in the courtyard next door. If you don't believe me, you can go see for yourself." My blood froze. Impossible. Sister Lydia is gentle and virtuous. How could she? Gentle and virtuous? Peter sneered. She has been having an affair with Zach, the son of the Vice Minister of War, for over 6 months. And you, her fiancé, know nothing. My head buzzed. I snatched the dress. "I will see for myself. If you are lying, I will deal with you." Peter pointed behind a screen. "Change." 15 minutes later, I walked out awkwardly, pulling at the skirt. Peter turned around. For a moment, a flash of surprise crossed his usually cold eyes. Then he coughed dryly. "Turn around." "What for?" "Your hair is crooked." He grabbed my shoulders without explanation. His long fingers moved through the wig I had put on, gently adjusting the hairpin. In the bronze mirror, I almost didn't recognize myself. Willow leaf eyebrows, cherry lips. I looked like a devastating beauty. Peter's movements were incredibly gentle. "Done." He stepped back and pulled a veil from his robe. "Put this on." "Why?" "Lydia knows you." He paused, looking away. "And looking like this. You are too conspicuous." I took the veil suspiciously, missing the redness on the tips of his ears. We left through the back door and climbed the wall of the neighboring estate. Peter held my waist, jumping lightly onto the roof. "Shoo." He pointed to the pavilion in the courtyard. In the pavilion, a man and a woman were sitting in an embrace. The woman's profile was exquisite. It was my fiancée, Lydia. And the man holding her was her cousin, Zach. "Lydia, are you really going to marry that useless Eugene?" Zach's voice floated up on the wind. Lydia giggled. "It's just a cover. If it weren't for my aunt, the Queen Mother, and my father, why would I marry that playboy? But Eugene is handsome. Are you jealous?" Lydia laughed again. "He's just a useless pretty face. How can he compare to you, cousin Zach? Besides, on the wedding night, I will put poison in his wine. That waste will surely die." After saying that, they kissed again, lost in their lust. I watched, trembling all over, my nails digging into my palms. Peter suddenly held my hand, gently prying my clenched fist open. "Seen enough?" he whispered. I bit my lower lip hard and nodded. Back at the villa, I ripped off the wig and veil, throwing them on the ground. "Those adulterous scum. I'm going to tell my father and cancel this marriage right now." Peter stopped me. "What's the rush? Do you want me to keep watching you make a joke of yourself?" I glared at him with red eyes. He suddenly became serious. "Your marriage to Lydia was arranged by the Queen Mother, right?" I nodded stiffly. 3 months ago, the Queen Mother had suddenly issued a decree marrying us. The Queen Mother's last name was also Lee. She was Lydia's aunt. My parents didn't dare refuse. "Lydia and Zach have been lovers since childhood." Peter's voice was cold as ice. "The Queen Mother's move is simply to place a spy in the Miller estate. Your father controls the capital's defense. If she can control your estate through the Lee family, she controls half the capital's military power." So that was it. The political situation was complex. Although the Queen Mother appeared to cooperate with Peter, she was secretly building her own power. If Zach controlled my family through Lydia, it would threaten Peter. So, Peter suddenly leaned in close. "Does the young lord understand now why I take special care of you?" He was too close. His breath tickled my ear, causing a shiver. My heart started racing wildly. I backed away in a panic. "Do." Do you also want to use me to control the Miller estate? He smiled disdainfully. If I wanted the world, it would already be in my hands. Why would I need to play games with you? What I want is just you. I stared at him, my whole body shocked by the electricity in his words. Before I could think, a sharp whistling sound cut through the air outside the window. Careful! Peter threw himself at me, tackling me to the floor. An arrow grazed his shoulder and nailed itself into the floorboards, the tail feathers still vibrating. Assassins! He stood up quickly, pulling me behind him. Stay close. Don't look back. Arrows rained into the room. Peter kicked over a table to shield us, simultaneously drawing a soft sword from his waist. He dragged me toward the side door, his sword moving like a ribbon of light, knocking down every projectile. I realized then that the scholarly director possessed martial arts skills that were deep and unfathomable. As soon as we rushed out, over 10 men in black surrounded the courtyard. Peter shielded me. He sneered, "The Queen Mother is getting impatient." The assassins didn't speak. They attacked. Peter fought 1 against 10, his sword technique ghostly and lethal. I grabbed a dagger from the ground, standing back to back with him to guard his rear. I didn't know the young lord knew how to fight, he joked amidst the chaos. Shut up. I blocked a sneak attack. Left side, during the fierce battle, Peter's sleeve was sliced open. Blood dripped down his arm. My heart tightened, but his expression didn't change. He backhanded his sword, piercing an attacker's throat. Peter, you're hurt. It's a scratch. He kicked an enemy away. Looks like someone is determined to take my life today. More assassins arrived. We were forced into a corner. Peter suddenly pulled a porcelain bottle from his robe and smashed it on the ground. Thick smoke filled the air instantly. Hold your breath. He grabbed my waist and leaped onto the roof. Behind us, coughing echoed. We scrambled over several walls, finally losing the pursuers. Deep in an alley, Peter's footsteps suddenly faltered. Are you okay? I hurriedly supported him. Under the moonlight, his face was terrifyingly pale. I realized there was half a broken arrow sticking out of his back. I'm fine, he forced a smile. The arrow has poison. Before he finished speaking, he collapsed into my arms. Peter! Peter! I checked his breathing. Weak, but steady. I looked around. We were far from his estate. If I carried him through the streets, we'd attract more killers. Gritting my teeth, I draped his arm over my shoulder and half-dragged him to a medical clinic I knew. The old doctor nearly closed the door when he saw us. I flashed my lord's token and shoved a silver ingot into his hand. This is the smile of Yama, poison from the west, the doctor said, sweating profusely. I can only suppress it temporarily. To cure it, we need 1,000-year snow lotus. I remembered immediately. The late emperor had gifted my father a snow lotus years ago. It was in our storeroom. Doctor, stabilize him. I'll go get it. I turned to leave, but a hand grabbed my wrist. Peter had woken up. He shook his head weakly but firmly. Don't go back to your estate. Dangerous. But, listen to me. He struggled to take a token from his waist. Go to my estate. Find a woman named Blue. She knows what to do. He passed out again. I clutched the token, my heart pounding like a drum. The doctor helped me find a cart. Covering Peter with straw, we smuggled him to the back door of his estate. The guard saw the token and immediately let us in. Director, a woman in green rushed out. Seeing Peter's injuries, her face went pale. Quick. Antidote powder. Hot water. Clean cloth. They carried Peter into the bedroom. I tried to follow, but Blue stopped me. Lord Eugene, please wait outside. Sitting in the outer room, every second felt like a year. Finally, Blue came out. The poison is neutralized. But he lost too much blood. He needs rest. Can I see him? Blue hesitated, then stepped aside. Please do not speak of what you see. I entered quietly. The room smelled of heavy medicine. Peter lay on his stomach, his bare back covered in bandages. His black hair was spread over the pillow, making his face look even paler. I walked to the bed and saw that even in a coma, his brows were furrowed tightly. Idiot, I whispered. You could have escaped by yourself. Because I couldn't bear to leave you, a hoarse voice said. I jumped. Peter had opened his eyes and was looking at me with a half smile. You're awake. I flustered. Water, come closer. He beckoned weakly. I leaned down. He raised a hand and touched my face. Why are you crying? I realized my face was wet. I wiped it hastily. Who's crying? It's Dust. Peter chuckled, then winced in pain. Thank you for saving me today. You saved me once. I saved you once. We're even. I looked away. What about before? He looked at me meaningfully. I remembered his teasing and my ears burned. One thing at a time. Rest well. I'll come back. I stood up, but he grabbed my hand. Wait. What now? About today. His expression became serious. Don't tell anyone. Not even your parents. If the Queen Mother dares to attack me, she's getting desperate. I nodded. I understand. And Lydia? Ignore her for now. Peter's eyes flashed cold. Wait until I heal. We will deal with them slowly. Looking at his tired but sharp eyes, I realized this man wasn't as bad as the rumors said. Peter, I asked courageously, why do you pretend to be a eunuch? He was silent for a long time. Just as I thought he wouldn't answer, he whispered, to survive. I wanted to ask more, but Blue knocked. Director, time to change the dressing. I turned to leave. At the door, Peter called out. Eugene. Yeah. Will you come tomorrow? Moonlight cast shadows on his face. In that moment, he looked fragile. I will, I heard myself say. The next morning, I brought ginseng soup made by bamboo. Blue looked relieved to see me. The director had a fever last night. It just broke. I pushed the door open. Peter was leaning against the headboard, reading documents. I said no more medicine. Oh, it's you. Seeing me, a rare smile touched his lips. Blue set down the bowl and left, closing the door. The room was quiet, filled with the scent of medicine and him. Seen enough? Peter asked, teasing. I realized I was staring at his exposed chest. I looked away. Who's looking at you? I was thinking. Reading documents in your condition? Aren't you afraid of ripping the wound? Peter chuckled, reaching for a scroll but wincing. Don't move. I grabbed the scroll. Which one? I'll read it to you. He looked surprised, then relaxed. The third one. The flood report. I opened it, ignoring the heat from his fingers as I took it. I read line by line. As I read, my gaze drifted to his profile. The sunlight softened his sharp features. He looked like a different person. Eugene, he called my full name. You skipped a line. I snapped back to reality, blushing. Tired? Rest. He took the scroll, his fingers brushing the back of my hand. I'm not tired. I refused to let go. I said I'd help. Peter looked at me for a moment, then smiled. Then help in a different way. He pointed to the medicine bowl. It's getting cold. I picked up the bowl and spooned some liquid to his lips. He didn't open his mouth, just watched me with that half smile. What is it? Too bitter, he said righteously, like a child. Peter, are you 3 years old? Just drink it. He suddenly grabbed my wrist, turning the spoon toward my lips. I pulled back, but his other hand held the back of my neck. Our eyes met. His amber pupils reflected my panicked face. My heart sped up. I opened my mouth. The bitter liquid exploded on my tongue. Ugh, bitter. Peter laughed and drank the rest of the bowl in one go. Shared bitterness. That's fair. To hide my fluster, I shoved a candied fruit into his mouth. Eat this. My fingers touched his soft lips. I pulled back as if burned. Peter narrowed his eyes, licking the sweet taste, staring at me intensely. Eugene, he asked, why did you risk your life to save me yesterday? Is the young lord perhaps interested in me? He leaned closer. My heart fluttered with anticipation. I closed my eyes nervously. Just as I thought he would kiss me, a teasing voice came from above. So my little lord really was expecting it. I opened my eyes in anger, realizing I'd been played again. I grabbed a pillow and threw it at him. As the pillow moved, I saw a jade pendant underneath. The pattern was a magnolia flower. It looked familiar. This looks like something I drew once, I said. Don't tell me. He nodded. Yes. 7 years ago, the Lantern Festival. You gave me a lantern with this drawing. I looked at him in shock. It was you. He smiled gently. You finally remember. That night, I snuck out and got surrounded by thugs. A 12-year-old boy saved me. You gave me your lantern and promised to meet again. But I never saw you. Why didn't you tell me? Why pretend? Peter's eyes darkened. The late emperor sought immortality. My master knew the formula. Before my master was silenced, he castrated me to save my life. Or so they thought. I have a rare condition. I healed. To survive, I entered the East Bureau and clawed my way to the top. So that night at the hot spring, He pulled me closer. I wanted to scare you away. But now what? I want you. Looking into his burning eyes, I nodded. Okay. From that day on, I visited Peter daily. His wounds healed fast. 5 days later, he was playing the zither in the courtyard. Lord Eugene, he didn't look up. Sit. I sat opposite him. Sounds good. Just good. He laughed. Teach me then. He pulled me to sit in front of the zither, hugging me from behind. His chest pressed against my back. Like this. His hands covered mine. I couldn't focus on the music at all. Director, Blue interrupted. The Queen Mother asks if you will attend her birthday banquet tomorrow. Peter's face went cold. Tell her I am too ill. When Blue left, I frowned. You're not going? It's a trap. Exactly. You can't go either. I have to. My father is going. But I can spy for you. He sighed. Fine. But promise me 3 things. Don't leave the guards. Don't drink anything. And he hung a jade pendant around my neck. If there is danger, break this. My men will extract you. On the day of the banquet, the palace was festive. I sat nervously, touching the pendant. Lydia was there, laughing with other noblewomen. Zach approached me, smiling falsely. Lord Eugene. I nodded coldly. Peter wasn't there. His empty seat made the banquet feel lighter, yet more ominous. Halfway through, Lydia left. I followed her to a secluded pavilion in the royal gardens. The Queen Mother was there. Is everything ready? The Queen Mother asked. Yes, Lydia bowed. On the wedding night, I will poison Eugene. Then I will take over the Miller estate. Good. The Duke and Duchess must die too. I want the army, not an empty shell. I froze. They wanted to kill my whole family. But, Lydia hesitated. Peter seems interested in Eugene. If he interferes. That dog, the Queen Mother sneered. He won't survive tonight. They were going to kill Peter too. I stepped back and snapped a twig. Who's there? The Queen Mother shouted. I ran. It's Eugene. Stop him. Lydia screamed. Guards rushed out. I ran toward the banquet, breaking the jade pendant. Just as I was cornered, a black shadow dropped from the sky. A sword flashed, and the guards fell. Peter! I shouted. He was dressed in black. I told you not to run. They're going to kill you. And my family. Torches lit up around us. The Queen Mother walked out with Lydia. Director Peter, she smiled cruelly. I thought you were sick. Trespassing in the palace? This is treason. Peter shielded me. I heard there were assassins. I came to protect the Emperor. Protect? The Queen Mother laughed. With the rebel Eugene? Guards. Kill them. Just then, a high-pitched voice yelled, Imperial decree. A eunuch ran in with a golden scroll. The Emperor decrees, Director Peter shall host the banquet in my place. Silence. The Queen Mother's face turned purple. She had to accept the decree. Peter grabbed my hand, and we walked out. I told you, he whispered. I set a fire in the West Palace to distract them. Back at his estate, I told them everything. They planned to poison us at the wedding. Good, Peter said. We will play along. What? If she wants a wedding, we'll give her a show. Suddenly, Blue burst in. Director. Lydia is leading the royal guard to the Miller estate. She claims Lord Eugene is having an illicit affair with you. What nonsense. I raged. Peter stood up calmly. She chose a good time. Let's go. We rushed to my home through secret tunnels. I changed and walked out to the front yard where Lydia and the guards were confronting my parents. Eugene. Lydia pointed at me. You and that eunuch are lovers. Disgusting. Silence. My father roared. I have proof. Lydia pulled out a forged letter. Love letters from Peter. Then she dropped the bomb. And Peter isn't a eunuch. He deceived the Emperor. The Queen Mother has sent men to arrest him and verify his body. The crowd gasped. Suddenly, hoofbeats thundered. I am right here. Peter's cold voice cut through the night. He walked in, wearing his official robes. Who dares disturb the Duke's peace? Lydia stepped back, then rallied. Peter, you are a fake eunuch. I have the records. She held up a scroll. No record of castration. Silence fell. This was a death sentence. Peter smiled. He slowly untied his sash. Miss Lydia is right. His robe slid down, revealing his chest. I was never castrated. As everyone stared in shock, he continued, because the late emperor allowed it. I entered the palace to brew the elixir of life. It requires a whole body. The Queen Mother knows this. Lydia screamed, liar. Enough. The Queen Mother appeared at the gate. She looked at Peter, then forced a smile. It is a misunderstanding. Let's go. The crowd dispersed. I pulled Peter aside. Why did she help you? I promised to give her half the East Bureau's power. You're crazy. That's your life's work. It's worth it for you. He touched my face. But now, we need to act fast. She will frame your father for treason tomorrow. What? I swapped the evidence. But she will try to kill me before I can reveal the truth about her son. Her son. The emperor isn't the late emperor's son. He's a bastard born of her affair with a guard. My jaw dropped. 3 days later, the trap was sprung. The Queen Mother accused Peter of treason and sentenced him to death by 1,000 cuts. I stood at the execution ground, watching Peter in chains. My heart broke, but I knew the plan. Execute him, the official yelled. Suddenly, a scout rode in. Emergency. Rebels are attacking the capital. They claim to be led by the late emperor's true son. Chaos erupted. Peter snapped his chains and killed the executioner. Close the gates. I threw off my cloak, revealing armor. Charge. I led the Miller estate's private army into the fray. We fought side by side. My father arrived with the city garrison. Arrest the Queen Mother for regicide. Peter revealed the true medical records proving the late emperor was poisoned by the Queen Mother. He then produced the secret decree allowing him to keep his manhood to investigate the murder. The Queen Mother collapsed. The rebellion was a ruse to draw out her forces. 3 months later, peace was restored. Peter was named Prince Regent. One morning, he handed me a jade ring. Will you? I will, I said before he finished. He laughed and picked me up. Then let's finish what we started. Later, everyone knew the terrifying director Peter doted on the heir of Duke Miller. But only I knew that the most powerful man in the empire would kneel every night just to put on my shoes.